Michelle pinned the silver eagles on my shoulders in front of 250 soldiers, then announced she'd been sleeping with my subordinate officer for 14 months. That's how 26 years ended. Not with an argument, not with divorce papers slid across a kitchen table. With a promotion ceremony at Fort Liberty Officers Club, dress uniforms pressed sharp enough to cut, the entire brigade watching, and my wife at a microphone telling everyone our marriage was now open. I'm Colonel James Robert Carson, 48 years old, 26 years of service, 4 combat deployments, 82nd Airborne Division. The kind of officer enlisted soldiers call old school, which means I believe in things like honor and duty and keeping your word even when it costs you everything. Can a man who built his entire identity on military honor survive when he must choose between protecting that honor by reporting his subordinate's affair and protecting his daughter's career by staying silent? That question would define the next 30 days of my life. But first, let me take you back to the ceremony, June 15th, 2025. Summer heat settling over North Carolina like a wet blanket. The officers' club ballroom was decorated the way the Army decorates everything, with precision and no imagination. American flag as the backdrop, 8-foot table with a white cloth, champagne flutes catching afternoon light through tall windows. 250 people in the room, military personnel mostly, some spouses. My commanding officer, Major General Patricia Holland, 2 stars on her shoulders, 32 years of service, a woman who'd earned every bit of respect she commanded. The Silver Eagles sat in a felt-lined box on that table, colonel rank insignia, mirror polished, each one maybe an inch across, wings spread, sharp-tipped posts on the back. They were heavier than you'd expect when you picked them up. Not the weight of metal, maybe 2 ounces total, but the weight of what they meant. 26 years of service pressed into 2 small pieces of silver. My daughter Emily stood 3 feet from the table. Captain Emily Rose Carson, 24 years old, Army Military Intelligence, wearing her dress uniform with her own captain's bars gleaming on her shoulders. My daughter, following in my footsteps, on track for Major, her fiancé Andrew stood beside her. Captain Andrew Mitchell, JAG officer, sharp kid with a future in military law. And Michelle, my wife, Michelle Ann Carson, 46 years old, wearing a navy dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary, her hair done, makeup perfect, smiling at the crowd like she'd won something. The ceremony started the way all military ceremonies start, formal, rigid, scripted. General Holland spoke about my service record. She mentioned Poland, my most recent deployment, 9 months of coordinating with NATO forces while Russia rattled sabers at the border. She talked about my leadership, my integrity. That word, integrity. She said, Colonel Carson represents the values we expect from our senior officers: personal conduct beyond reproach, dedication to the mission, and unwavering commitment to the soldiers under his command. 250 people applauded. Michelle stepped forward when General Holland invited her to pin the rank insignia on my shoulders. Military tradition. The spouse pins on the new rank, symbol of partnership, of sacrifice shared. She picked up the first silver eagle. The metal was cool in the air-conditioned room. I could see my reflection in it, distorted, stretched, not quite right. She positioned it on my right shoulder, pushed the posts through the fabric of my uniform. The sharp points pricked through. I felt them against my skin, cold, final. You earned these, James, she said, loud enough for the front row to hear, not loud enough for the microphone to catch. Every single sacrifice you made, I was there for all of it, 26 years. She pinned the second eagle on my left shoulder, same careful precision, same cold points pushing through fabric. When both were secure, she stepped back, smiled. The room erupted in applause again. General Holland shook my hand. Command Sergeant Major David Clark, my right-hand NCO for 12 years, stepped forward and shook my hand. Congratulations, sir. Well deserved. His grip was firm, honest. Clark was old Army, enlisted man who'd worked his way up from private. He believed in the same things I did: honor, duty, leave no one behind. That phrase, our unit motto from the Poland deployment, leave no one behind. We bring everyone home. I'd repeated it 100 times to my soldiers. Never thought about what it meant to leave yourself behind, to abandon pieces of yourself, one deployment at a time, until you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize what was left. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The ceremony continued. Brief remarks from me, thanking my family, my soldiers, the army for the opportunity to serve. Standard speech. I'd given versions of it a dozen times. Then we were supposed to toast. Champagne already poured. Michelle was supposed to say a few words about our partnership, our marriage, how we'd supported each other through deployments and hardships and all the challenges military life brings. She walked to the microphone, adjusted it, tapped it once, that hollow thump that means the sound system is live. Behind me, I heard Emily whisper something to Andrew. Couldn't make out the words, but the tone was wrong, tense. Michelle's hand rested on the microphone stand. Her wedding ring caught the light. Titanium band. Brushed finish. We'd gotten matching ones 20 years ago. Mine had wear marks from 2 decades of use. Hers looked pristine, like she didn't wear it enough to scratch it. "Before we celebrate James and Emily's engagement," Michelle said, and my stomach dropped because we weren't celebrating Emily's engagement. That wasn't part of the program. Emily and Andrew had gotten engaged 2 weeks ago. Small family dinner, no announcement planned for today. "I need to announce something important." The room went silent, that specific kind of silence that happens when 250 people stop breathing at the same time. "James and I have decided to open our marriage." I heard the words, processed them, couldn't quite make them mean anything. Open our marriage, like a door, like a window, like something you could just decide to unlock and let air through. "Brad Thompson and I have been together for 14 months. Bradley Vance Thompson, Lieutenant Colonel, Battalion Commander in my brigade, my subordinate officer, age 42. The man I'd passed over when I got promoted to Colonel, the man whose efficiency report I'd signed 3 months ago, rating him outstanding in personal conduct. 14 months. Since James was deployed to Poland, and it's time everyone knew." She kept talking. Something about authenticity, about not pretending anymore, about being true to herself, about how she'd spent 26 years as the perfect military wife, and she was done with that role. I wasn't listening to the words. I was watching the room. 250 faces, some shocked, some confused, some, and this was worse, not surprised at all, like they'd known, like everyone had known except me. General Holland's jaw clenched. I saw it from the side, watched the muscle jump under her skin. Her eyes found mine, held them. I couldn't read her expression, couldn't read anything. Emily stood frozen, her face, God, her face, like someone had reached inside her chest and torn something vital out. She'd been smiling 10 seconds ago, proud of her father, excited about her engagement, and now Andrew had his hand on her shoulder, steadying her, or maybe steadying himself. His face was pale. As a JAG officer, he understood immediately what Michelle had just done, not just to our marriage, to my career, to Emily's career, to everything. I found Bradley in the crowd, standing near the bar, wearing his dress uniform, same rank insignia I'd worn 5 minutes ago. Lieutenant Colonel Silver Oak Leaves. His face had drained of color. He looked like a man who just realized he was about to drown and there was no lifeguard coming. The Purple Heart sat on the display table 10 feet away. My Purple Heart. From Afghanistan, 2009. Shrapnel from an IED. 3 soldiers died that day. I took metal in my left shoulder and kept fighting until we extracted the rest of the squad. The metal was in its navy velvet case. The case hinge creaked when you opened it. The Purple Heart itself was tarnished. The ribbon faded. I hadn't opened that case in years, hadn't wanted to. Too many memories attached to it, too much pain, but the Army likes to display these things at ceremonies, proof of sacrifice, proof of service under fire. Michelle gestured toward it during her speech. "James's real love," she said, "that medal. 26 years married to the Army, not to me." She wasn't wrong, but she also wasn't right. The speech ended. Michelle stepped away from the microphone, came and stood beside me, put her hand on my arm like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my promotion ceremony, in the middle of my life. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The silver eagles were cold on my shoulders, newly pinned, supposed to feel like an achievement. Instead, they felt like weights, anchors, dragging me down into water I couldn't see the bottom of. Emily turned, started walking toward the door, her back straight, military bearing intact. But I could see it in her shoulders, the way they were drawn too tight, the way she was fighting to hold herself together. Andrew followed her, didn't look back. The room started emptying, people avoiding eye contact, officers and enlisted both. Nobody wanted to be near the blast radius. Nobody wanted to be associated with the scandal that had just become very, very public. Someone pressed a folded stack of papers into my hand. Didn't see who, just felt the weight of it. I looked down. Paper. Maybe 200 pages. Printouts. Color. The pages smelled like fresh ink from an office printer. The top page showed a website header. Military Wife Unfiltered in script font. Michelle's lifestyle blog. 85,000 followers. I flipped through the pages. Blog posts, screenshots, post titles highlighted in yellow. Finding freedom. Breaking the military wife stereotype. The truth about duty. Dates going back 6 months. All of them using coded language. All of them documenting. My phone buzzed. Text message. I pulled it from my pocket. General Holland's name on the screen. My office. Aero 800 hours tomorrow. I stood there holding printed evidence of my wife's affair, wearing rank insignia she'd pinned on me 2 minutes before, announcing she was sleeping with my subordinate, watching my daughter flee the room. And the only thought in my head was simple. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely, someone you'd have taken a bullet for, just type betrayed in the comments. You're not alone in this. I walked out of the officers' club into June heat that felt like breathing underwater. The parking lot was emptying fast, cars pulling out, people escaping. I saw Emily's car, silver sedan, Fort Liberty parking sticker, heading for the gate. She was driving, Andrew in the passenger seat. They didn't stop. Command Sergeant Major Clark materialized beside me. How he did that, how NCOs always seem to appear exactly when you needed them, was one of the Army's great mysteries. "Sir," he said, voice low, private conversation. "You need anything?" "No, Sergeant Major." "Roger that." He paused. "For what it's worth, sir, that was the most unprofessional thing I've seen in 31 years of service." "Noted. My phone's on if you need it. Anytime." He left. I stood in the parking lot watching people scatter, watching my career, watching everything crack apart like ice under weight it was never designed to carry. The blog printouts were still in my hand. 200 pages. I sat on the hood of my car, probably bad for the paint, definitely against regulation, and started reading. Michelle's voice came through clear in the posts, resentful, bitter, but also calculated. She'd been planning this. The posts from 6 months ago talked about needing change. 3 months ago, exploring new definitions of commitment. Last month, truth and authenticity matter more than appearances. Her followers had eaten it up. Thousands of comments, other military wives talking about feeling trapped, about sacrificing their careers, about being invisible, about living in their husband's shadow, and buried in the comments, usernames I recognized. Spouses of other officers, other soldiers, people I knew, people who had been watching this unfold online while I was in Poland, coordinating with NATO. My phone buzzed again. Different number. I answered without thinking. "Colonel Carson?" Female voice, young, nervous. "Speaking. This is Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell. I'm Captain Carson's best friend. She asked me to call you. Is she okay?" "No, sir, she's..." Sarah paused. Background noise, Emily's voice, distant, saying something. "She asked me to tell you she's removing her engagement ring until this is resolved. Captain Mitchell's career depends on family honor, too." The line went dead. I sat on the hood of my car in an emptying parking lot, holding printouts of my wife's blog, the new rank insignia cold on my shoulders, and thought about Emily's engagement ring. Simple solitaire, white gold, hidden now, buried somewhere because my daughter was ashamed to be a Carson. It was 1800 hours. 6 p.m. The sun wouldn't set for another 3 hours. I had a meeting with my commanding general at 0800 tomorrow, 8 a.m., 14 hours from now. I drove home, our house, Military family housing on base, provided because of my rank. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, backyard with a fence, the American dream in base housing form. Michelle's car was in the driveway, lights on inside, like it was a normal Tuesday evening, like she hadn't just blown up our lives in front of everyone we knew. I didn't go in, kept driving, ended up at the empty parade ground, parked, sat there as the sun dropped lower. Thought about the question General Holland would ask tomorrow, thought about choices, thought about honor and duty and what happens when those two things point in opposite directions. Leave no one behind. That's what I'd always told my soldiers. We bring everyone home, but what do you do when bringing everyone home means abandoning yourself? General Holland's office smelled like coffee and old leather. 0800 sharp. I reported in dress uniform, the silver eagles still on my shoulders. Hadn't taken them off. Somehow that felt like surrender. She didn't waste time. Sit down, Colonel. I sat. She placed a document on the desk between us. Army Officer Evaluation Report. My signature on page 6. Bradley Thompson's name at the top. Dated 3 months prior. You rated Lieutenant Colonel Thompson outstanding on personal conduct and adherence to Army values. She tapped the signature line. March 20th. Your signature, your assessment. Yes, ma'am. Were you aware he was having an affair with your wife when you signed this? No, ma'am. So either you didn't know, which suggests you failed to properly supervise your subordinate, or you did know and falsified an official evaluation. She leaned back. Either way, Colonel, you have a problem. The efficiency report sat between us. Heavy cardstock, official Army letterhead. The paper made an authoritative sound when she'd placed it down. Solid, final. My signature looked official there. Professional. The signature of a man who believed what he was certifying. I didn't know, I said. Noted. She pulled out another document. Thicker, legal-sized paper. UCMJ Article 134, adultery. It's a crime under military law when it affects good order and discipline, which this certainly does. She paused. You're the wrong party here, Colonel, but you're also the senior officer, which means you have a duty to report violations, especially when they occur in your chain of command. There it was, the choice. If I file a formal report, Article 32, hearing, investigation, likely court-martial for Thompson, public proceedings, media attention, and your daughter. She stopped, started again. Captain Carson's promotion board meets in 12 weeks. Family reputation matters. You know that. Yes, ma'am. On the other hand, if both you and Thompson resign quietly, this stays contained. No formal charges, no public spectacle. Your daughter's career stays clean. And honor? General Holland's expression didn't change. That's above my pay grade, Colonel. You have 72 hours to decide, formal report or resignation letter. Either way, this needs resolution. I stood, saluted. She returned it. For what it's worth, she said as I reached the door, you're a good officer. I'm sorry this happened. Thank you, ma'am. I left her office with 72 hours on the clock and no idea which choice I could live with. Command Sergeant Major Clark found me in my quarters that afternoon, knocked once, entered without waiting for permission. NCO privilege when they know you well enough. Sir, you need to see something. He carried a green notebook. Military issue. Spiral bound. The kind you could buy at any post exchange for $3. He dropped it on my desk. The impact was heavier than it should have been. 18 months of pages. Coffee stained. Family Readiness Group attendance log, Clark said. I pulled it from the FRG coordinator's office. Thought you should see page 47. I flipped through. Names and dates in multiple handwriting styles, signatures, some in pen, some in pencil. The spiral binding caught and released with each page. You could smell the coffee stains, faint and sweet. Someone had been comfortable at those meetings. Relaxed, page 47. Michelle Carson. Signature. Date. Every Thursday for 18 months. Right below, Bradley Thompson. Same dates, same Thursday nights. 47 meetings. While I was deployed to Poland, while I was coordinating with NATO forces. While I was serving my country, my wife was using the military family support structure, designed specifically to help spouses during deployment, to facilitate an affair with my subordinate officer. Every Thursday night, sir, Clark said. His voice was tight, controlled. The way NCOs sound when they're furious but maintaining discipline. 18 months. The FRG meetings were cover. Everyone signed in. Nobody questioned it. Why would they? Supporting families during deployment. That's what it's for. I closed the notebook. The pages made a soft sound. Final. Thank you, Sergeant Major. There's more, sir. He pulled out his phone, pulled up screenshots, text messages. Thompson's aide forwarded these. He's had enough. Wants to testify if this goes formal. The texts were between Bradley and someone saved as M. Michelle. Dates matching the FRG meetings, arrangements, times. See you Thursday. Same place. Jim's in Poland. We're clear. Jim. She called me Jim in those texts. Sergeant Major, I said quietly. How many people knew? Clark was silent for a moment. Sir, I can't. How many? Enough that I'm ashamed, sir. Enough that when I found out, I went back through the last year trying to figure out how I missed it. How we all missed it. He paused. Or maybe we didn't miss it. Maybe we just didn't want to see it. After he left, I sat alone with the FRG log and the text message screenshots and thought about the word betrayal. It's not a single moment. It's not one decision. It's 47 Thursday nights. It's text saying, Jim's in Poland. We're clear. It's systematic. Planned. Routine. The silver eagles on my shoulders felt heavier every hour. I found Bradley at battalion headquarters the next morning. His office was on the second floor. Door open. He was at his desk doing paperwork. Normal Tuesday. Like nothing had happened. I walked in, closed the door behind me. Sir, he said, standing, military courtesy, like we were still operating under normal rules. Sit down, Lieutenant Colonel. He sat. I stayed standing. 14 months, I said. Sir, I rated you outstanding on personal conduct 3 months ago, while you were sleeping with my wife, while you were violating UCMJ Article 134, while you were destroying my family. I reached up, unpinned the silver eagles from my shoulders, both of them, set them on his desk. The metal made a soft clink. These meant honor. You made them mean shame. Bradley stared at the eagles. Colonel Carson, You never meant what? To get caught? To have it announced publicly? You meant every bit of it, Thompson. 47 FRG meetings, every Thursday, using military family support to cover an affair. Michelle and I, we connected. She was lonely. You were deployed. I was serving. That's what deployment means. You know that. You've deployed. Your wife? I stopped. Does Melissa know? His face went pale. No, she can't. She's pregnant. 7 months. She can't handle. She's going to find out. Everyone's going to find out. Michelle made sure of that. His phone buzzed on the desk. The screen lit up. Caller ID, Melissa, his pregnant wife, calling. He stared at it, didn't answer. Pick it up, I said. I can't. Pick it up. He didn't. The phone stopped buzzing, went silent. I picked up the silver eagles from his desk. The metal was still cool, still polished, still meant something, even if I wasn't sure what anymore. General Holland gave me 72 hours to decide, I said. Formal report or quiet resignation. If I file formally, you face court-martial, dishonorable discharge, lost pension, 20 years of service gone. If I resign quietly, you walk away. Keep your career, your pension. Your pregnant wife never has to know the details. And I don't want anything from you, Thompson. I'm telling you what's coming. Because unlike you, I believe in honor, even when it costs me. I left. Walked down the hallway. Took the stairs. Outside, the June heat hit like a wall. My phone buzzed. Unknown number? I answered. Colonel Carson? Woman's voice strained. This is Captain Melissa Thompson, Bradley's wife. My stomach dropped. I need to talk to you. Please, can you come to my house? How did you? The blog went viral. Someone sent me the link. I read everything, all 200 pages, and then I called the FRG coordinator to verify. Her voice cracked. 47 meetings, while I thought he was supporting military families, while I was home pregnant. I drove to their house. Off-base housing, suburban neighborhood, 2-car garage, American flag on the porch. The dream. Melissa answered the door. 7 months pregnant. Army captain, nurse. She worked at the base hospital. I'd seen her at military functions, professional, competent. Now she looked shattered. "Come in," she said. Their living room was neat, organized, baby items in boxes by the wall, preparation for the future they'd planned, the future that was now burning down. "I don't know what to believe," Melissa said. She held the blog printouts, same stack someone had given me, 200 pages. She documented everything, every lie, every excuse Bradley gave me about FRG meetings running late. Every Thursday he came home smelling like perfume, and I told myself I was imagining it. "Captain Thompson, Melissa, please." She sat down carefully, protective hand on her belly. "Everyone keeps telling me this isn't my fault, but I keep thinking if I'd paid attention, if I'd asked more questions, You trusted your husband. That's not a fault. You trusted your wife." We sat in silence. Two people who'd trusted wrong, who'd believed in vows and commitments, and the idea that military service meant something, that honor meant something. "Are you filing the formal report?" Melissa asked. "I don't know yet." "File it." Her voice was steady now, certain. "My daughter deserves to know what honor looks like, not what covering up looks like, not what protecting image looks like. Honor." She placed her hand on her belly again. "I'm raising her alone now. Bradley made that choice, but I get to choose what lessons she learns, and I choose honor. Even if it means court-martial, public scandal, your husband's career destroyed, especially then." She met my eyes. "Colonel Carson, women in the military, we already fight for credibility, for respect, for the chance to prove we belong. If we also have to cover up when men violate the code, when they use us, manipulate us, betray us, then what are we fighting for?" After I left, I sat in my car outside their house and thought about Melissa Thompson. 7 months pregnant, ending her marriage, choosing honor over convenience, choosing truth over image. And I thought about General Holland's words. "Family reputation matters." My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Then I realized Emily had called from Sarah's phone yesterday. This was Sarah's number. The text: "Emily wants you to know. She found something in your house. Come over." Emily let me in. We hadn't spoken since the ceremony. She looked exhausted, eyes red, still in her uniform from work, captain's bars on her shoulders. "Dad," she said. Just that, my title reduced to one syllable. M. We stood in the entryway of her apartment. Off base, studio, small but neat, military efficient. Her combat boots were by the door, tan suede, standard issue, laces loosened. "I went to the house," she said, "looking for Mom. She wasn't there, but I found these." She held up papers, Army Form 5960R, marriage counseling referral forms. Her therapist gave them to her 18 months ago, right when the affair started. The forms were pristine, blank, never filled out. The paper was still crisp, fresh. You could hear it crackle when Emily unfolded them. The confidential stamp at the top was in red ink, sharp, official. "She never tried," Emily said. "Dad, she had the option to fix things, professional help, military family services, all of it available. And she chose," Emily's voice broke. "She chose Bradley instead. She chose the affair. She never even tried to save the marriage. I took the forms. The paper smelled like it had been in a drawer for months, unused, ignored. Evidence of a choice made and never reconsidered." "There's something else," Emily said. She walked to her couch, sat down, reached for her left combat boot, loosened the laces, reached inside. The tissue paper crinkled, that specific sound of gift wrap being unwrapped. When she pulled her hand out, she was holding her engagement ring. Simple solitaire, white gold band. It should have been on her finger. Instead, it had been living in her boot. The ring was cold when she held it up. Actually cold to touch, like it had absorbed the shame she felt. "This is where it's been since the night of your party," Emily said. "Hidden, like I'm hiding from being a Carson." "Em, do you know what it's like?" She set the ring on the coffee table between us. It caught the light, diamond facets throwing tiny rainbows on the cheap laminate. "Do you know what it's like to have your entire unit talking about your family? To walk into mourning formation and hear the whispers stop? To have other officers, people I command, look at me like I'm contaminated? Your mother's choices aren't mine. Everyone knows that, Dad. Logically, they know, but it doesn't matter, Because in the military, family reputation is career reputation. When Andrew's JAG supervisor asked him if the Carson family situation would affect his judgment, Andrew said he needed time to think. He needed time to think about whether my family scandal would derail his career path. What did he decide? Emily's expression broke. He said he loves me, but he can't marry into a family with no honor. He said, her voice dropped to barely above whisper. He said, if your family can't maintain basic integrity, how can he trust you'll maintain it in a marriage? The engagement ring sat between us, symbol of a future that was now as cold as the metal it was made from. I defended you my whole life, Emily said. When Mom complained about deployments, about moving every 2 years, about sacrificing her career, I said you were serving, doing something important, building something that mattered, and she'd say, he's hiding. He's using service as an excuse to avoid being present. I never believed her. Emily picked up the ring, held it. But maybe she was right. Maybe you were hiding, using duty as a shield, leaving her behind emotionally even when you were physically here. Leave no one behind. That's what I'd taught my soldiers. That's what I had drilled into every formation, every training exercise, every deployment briefing. You left Mom behind emotionally for 26 years, Dad, Emily said. She was alone every deployment, and maybe she didn't handle it well. Maybe what she did was wrong, but you left her behind first. The words hit like shrapnel, small pieces of metal finding gaps in armor you didn't know existed. And now, Emily continued, you have to choose. If you report Bradley, you trigger an Article 32 hearing, investigation, court-martial, public proceedings. My promotion board meets in 12 weeks. They'll see my last name. They'll see the scandal. They'll pass me over. Not because I did anything wrong, but because the military doesn't promote officers from dishonorable families. That's exactly how it works, and you know it. You've been on promotion boards. You've seen how it goes. Family matters, reputation matters, integrity matters. She set the ring down again. So if you report Bradley, I lose my promotion. I lose my career trajectory. Maybe I lose my career entirely. But if you stay silent, if you resign quietly and let Bradley walk away, then I lose something worse. What? I lose my father. Emily's voice cracked completely now, tears finally coming. Because the man who raised me, the man who taught me that honor is everything, that integrity is non-negotiable, that you do the right thing even when it costs you everything, that man would never stay silent. That man would file the report. That man would choose honor over convenience. She stood, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot, generic off-base housing, nothing special, just another apartment where another military family was falling apart. So, here's your choice, Dad. Report Bradley and destroy my career, or stay silent and destroy yourself. She turned back to face me. Either way, I lose. If you were Colonel Carson, would you report Bradley and trigger the investigation, knowing it destroys your daughter's military career? Type, report. Or would you resign quietly, protect Emily's future, but betray everything you taught soldiers about integrity? Type, silent. What would you do? There's no right answer here. Yeah, that's the choice. I left Emily's apartment with blank marriage counseling forms in one pocket, and the weight of her ultimatum pressing down on the silver eagles I was still wearing. 72 hours had become 48 hours. Time was running out. I drove to my father's house. Not planned, just ended up there. Robert Carson, 72 years old, retired Army, Vietnam veteran, 3 tours, Purple Heart recipient. The man who'd taught me everything about service, duty, and honor. He lived in a small house off base. Modest, organized, photos on the walls. 3 generations of Carsons in uniform. My grandfather, my father, me, Emily in her commissioning photo. Military service in our blood. James, he said when he opened the door. He'd been my father for 48 years. He only used my rank when we were in public, or when something was seriously wrong. Come in. His living room smelled like old coffee and furniture polish. Same couch he'd had for 20 years, same TV, same photos on the mantle. He poured whiskey, 2 glasses, handed me one. Saw the blog, he said. Everyone saw the blog. 85,000 followers plus everyone they shared it with. You're famous now. Wrong kind of famous. Yes, sir. Don't yes sir me in my own house. He sat down, gestured for me to sit. You came here for advice, so here's my first piece. Stop looking like a soldier and start looking like a son. I sat, drank the whiskey, it burned going down. Good burn. 72 hours, Dad said. That's what Holland gave you? 48 now. Report or resign? Yes. He stood, walked to the mantel, picked up a small navy blue case. His Purple Heart, Vietnam, 1968. He'd been 23 years old, shrapnel from a mortar attack, took metal in his back, kept fighting, saved 4 men who would have died if he'd gone down. The case hinge creaked when he opened it, same sound as mine, same tarnished metal, same faded ribbon. He held it, felt the weight. My lie, he said. Sir, my lie, March 1968, Charlie Company, Lieutenant William Calley, 500 unarmed civilians murdered by American soldiers. He stared at the metal. I wasn't there, but my unit knew guys who were, officers who participated, officers who knew and said nothing. Why are you? Took 18 months for the truth to come out. 18 months of officers covering for each other, protecting the unit, maintaining image, and then a helicopter pilot named Hugh Thompson. He reported it, faced death threats, career destroyed, called a traitor by men he'd served with. Dad closed the case. The snap was final. I watched Callie's court-martial on TV, listened to officers testify. And you know what I learned? What? Sometimes honor means destroying your career to tell the truth. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything. And sometimes? He placed the Purple Heart case in my hand. The metal was cold, the velvet soft. Sometimes you get wounded for serving your country, and sometimes you get wounded for serving your conscience. Both are Purple Heart moments. Both require showing up even when you're bleeding. I held my father's Purple Heart, felt the weight of 3 tours in Vietnam, felt the weight of a man who'd come home to a country that hated him, who'd been spit on at airports, who'd been called baby killer by protesters, and who'd still taught his son that service and honor mattered more than comfort or approval. You didn't survive Vietnam, so I could become the kind of officer who looks away, I said. No, I didn't. Emily's career will survive or it won't, but she'll survive because you'll teach her what integrity costs. That's a bigger gift than any promotion. He took the Purple Heart back, put it on the mantel. When I was in Vietnam, we had a saying, you can't take the hill without casualties. This is your hill, James. Emily is your casualty count. Question is, do you take the hill anyway? I drove home as the sun set. Not Michelle's home, not anymore. Just the house where I still kept my deployment footlocker. Olive drab, metal, combination lock that clicked 3 times, right, left, right. The hinges squeaked when I opened it. Inside, uniforms, extra boots, personal items packed and ready. Always ready. The footlocker smelled like oil and dust and canvas. 4 deployments, 26 years. Always packed, always ready to leave. Michelle used to joke about it. You're married to that footlocker, she'd say. It's been to more countries than I have. She wasn't wrong. I pulled out a notebook, plain, military issue, started writing, 2 letters, letter 1, formal report. In accordance with UCMJ, Article 134, I am reporting a violation of military law. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley Vance Thompson engaged in an adulterous relationship with my wife, Michelle Carson, for approximately 14 months. This conduct affects good order and discipline. I request formal investigation and appropriate action. Letter 2. Resignation. After 26 years of honorable service, I hereby tender my resignation as Colonel, United States Army, effective immediately. Personal circumstances make it impossible to continue serving with the dedication my position requires. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve. 2 letters, 2 futures, both ending my career, one keeping my honor, one protecting my daughter. The deployment footlocker sat open beside me, half-packed, ready to leave. Story of my life. It was 3 a.m, 41 hours left on the 72-hour clock. The silver eagles were on my desk. I'd taken them off, couldn't wear them while writing my own ending. The challenge coin from Poland sat next to them, brass, heavy for its size. 82nd Airborne insignia on one side. KOL Carson, Poland deployment 2024 on the other. I'd given one to every soldier in my command. Unit tradition, brotherhood, leave no one behind. I picked up the coin, felt the weight, flipped it. Didn't matter which side came up. I'd already decided, couldn't leave myself behind anymore. I walked into General Holland's office at 7:30 the next morning, 36 hours left on the clock. But I wasn't waiting. The formal report was in a manila folder, heavy cardstock paper, official Army letterhead, my signature on the bottom. The paper made an authoritative sound when I placed it on her desk. "Colonel," she said. "Formal report, ma'am. UCMJ Article 134 violation. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley Vance Thompson, requesting Article 32, hearing an appropriate action." She opened the folder, read. Her expression didn't change. Professional, controlled. But I saw something in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or sadness, hard to tell. "You understand what this means," she said. "For you, for Captain Carson." "Yes, ma'am." "Article 32, hearing will be convened. Open proceedings. Any service member can attend. Media will cover it. Your family, everything, will be public record." "I understand." She closed the folder, placed both hands on it. "This ends your career, Colonel. Even if you're not charged with anything, and you might be for failing to supervise, your effectiveness as a commander is finished. No one will want you in their chain of command. The scandal follows you." "Yes, ma'am." "And Emily, we'll learn what integrity costs. That's worth more than a promotion." General Holland stood, extended her hand. I shook it. "For the record," she said, "this took more courage than anything you did in combat. I'll make sure that's noted." I picked up the silver eagles from her desk. I'd brought them with me, returned them to the felt-lined box. The metal was cool. The box made a soft snap when I closed it. "I may lose these, ma'am, but I won't lose what they're supposed to mean." The Article 32 hearing was convened 14 days later, July 1st. Military courtroom on Fort Liberty. Open proceedings. 50-plus officers and enlisted personnel in the gallery. Emily sat in the back row. Dress uniform, face expressionless, military bearing holding her together. Bradley sat at the defense table with his lawyer, JAG captain, young, aggressive, already filing motions to suppress evidence, claiming privacy violations. The military investigator, a major from legal affairs, called witnesses. Started with the FRG coordinator. She brought the green notebook, attendance log, placed it on the evidence table. "Can you identify this document?" the investigator asked. "Family Readiness Group attendance log, standard procedure. Everyone signs in, helps us track participation and plan events." "Can you read the entries for page 47? She flipped to the page. The spiral binding made that catching sound. "Thursday meetings, September 2024 through May 2025, 18 months. Michelle Carson and Bradley Thompson attended 47 meetings together. During which Colonel Carson was deployed?" "Yes, sir. Colonel Carson was in Poland from September through June." The investigator entered the log into evidence, then called Bradley's former aide, Specialist Marcus Webb, 22 years old, enlisted soldier. He looked terrified, testifying against a lieutenant colonel, career suicide under normal circumstances. But these weren't normal circumstances. "Specialist Webb," the investigator said, "did Lieutenant Colonel Thompson ever discuss Colonel Carson with you?" "Yes, sir." "What did he say?" Webb swallowed, looked at Bradley, looked away. "July 2024, right after the promotion list came out. Lieutenant Colonel Thompson didn't make colonel. Colonel Carson did. Thompson was angry, sir. He said, exact quote, 'Carson got my promotion, I'll take something of his.'" The courtroom went silent, that specific kind of silence where everyone stops breathing at once. 1 month before he started attending FRG meetings with Mrs. Carson? "Yes, sir, exactly 1 month." The investigator turned to the panel. The affair wasn't romance. It was retaliation. Military retaliation using Colonel Carson's wife as a weapon. I sat at the witness table. Emily was behind me in the gallery. I couldn't see her face, but I felt her presence. Steady, there, my daughter. Watching her father's marriage dissected in public. Watching evidence of systematic betrayal. Learning what honor costs. The investigator pulled out the efficiency report, the one I'd signed, placed it on the evidence table. Colonel Carson, he said, you rated Lieutenant Colonel Thompson outstanding on personal conduct. March 20th, 3 months ago. Yes. At that time, was Thompson engaged in an adulterous relationship with your wife? Yes, though I was not aware. The irony is significant. You vouched for his integrity while he was actively violating UCMJ, while he was destroying your family as calculated revenge for a promotion. Yes. Did you suspect anything? No, I trusted my subordinate officer to maintain professional standards. I trusted my wife to honor her vows. I paused. I was wrong on both counts. The hearing continued for 6 hours. Testimony, evidence, text messages recovered from phones, blog posts entered into evidence, 200 pages of Michelle documenting the affair in coded language. Her followers had suspected. Some had guessed. One comment from 8 months ago. Girl, are you saying what I think you're saying? Michelle wasn't called to testify, couldn't be compelled, spousal privilege, but her blog spoke for her. Every post, every comment, every like and share, digital evidence of premeditation. The final witness was Captain Melissa Thompson. She walked to the stand 7 months pregnant, Army nurse uniform, captain's bars on her shoulders. She'd filed for divorce the week after I visited her. Bradley had moved out. She was raising her daughter alone now, her choice, her sacrifice for honor. Captain Thompson, the investigator said gently, you understand you're not required to testify? I understand, sir. Why are you here? Melissa placed her hand on her belly. Protective gesture. Mother already. Because my daughter deserves to know what honor looks like, not what covering up looks like, not what protecting image looks like. Honor? Can you describe how you learned about the affair? The blog went viral. Someone sent me the link. I read all 200 pages. Then I verified the FRG attendance records. Her voice was steady, strong. 47 Thursday nights, while I thought he was supporting military families during deployment, while I was home pregnant with our first child, while I told myself I was imagining the perfume smell when he came home late. How did that make you feel? Like I'd failed, like I should have known, like I was stupid for trusting. She paused. But then I talked to Colonel Carson, and I realized trust isn't stupidity. Trust is what makes military families work, what makes deployments survivable, what makes this whole system function. Bradley weaponized that trust. He turned the support structure into his cover. That's not just adultery. That's betrayal of every military family depending on that system. What do you want to happen? I want the truth on record. I want my daughter to know that when someone violates the code, when they use people, manipulate them, betray them, there are consequences, real consequences, not quiet resignations, not protecting careers, justice. She looked at me. Our eyes met. Two people who'd trusted wrong, who'd believed in vows and commitments, who were rebuilding from wreckage. Colonel Carson lost his marriage but kept his honor, Melissa said. Her voice cracked slightly, but she kept going. I'm losing my marriage too. But because of him, because of his choice to file this report, even though it cost him everything, I know what matters. My daughter will never meet her father. That's Bradley's choice, his consequence. But she'll know what a man of honor looks like. Because Colonel Carson showed me. The investigator nodded. Thank you, Captain. Melissa stood, walked past Bradley's table. He wouldn't look at her, cowered to the end. She stopped at my table, placed her hand on my shoulder. Brief touch, understanding passing between us. Thank you, sir, she said quietly, for teaching us both. Then she left. The courtroom door closed behind her with a soft click. Final. The panel deliberated for 2 hours, came back with recommendations. Court-martial, full proceedings, maximum charges. Bradley's face drained of color. His lawyer immediately started talking about appeals, plea deals, anything to avoid court-martial. But the wheels were in motion now. No stopping them. The court-martial was 3 weeks later, July 22nd. Same courtroom, bigger crowd. Media present this time. Military reporters, bloggers. The story had spread beyond Fort Liberty. Colonel reports subordinate's affair despite career cost. Military honor versus family loyalty. Headlines everywhere. The proceedings took 2 days. Evidence presented. Witnesses testified again. Bradley's lawyer argued for leniency, claimed the affair was consensual, claimed no harm to good order and discipline, claimed privacy rights. The panel wasn't buying it. Lieutenant Colonel Thompson, the panel president, said, "You pursued a subordinate officer's wife as calculated retaliation for a promotion decision. You used military family support structures to facilitate this affair. You violated the trust that makes deployment possible. You placed your personal vendetta above your duty to the soldiers you commanded. This court finds you guilty of adultery under UCMJ Article 134, conduct unbecoming an officer, and violation of professional ethics. The sentence, dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, loss of retirement benefits, 20 years of service erased." Bradley stood as they read the verdict. His shoulders slumped. His lawyer whispered something. He didn't respond. Just stood there watching his career, his life, disintegrate. I felt no satisfaction, no victory, just tired, so tired. Emily was in the gallery again, same back row. When the verdict was read, I saw her shoulders relax slightly. Exhale, relief maybe, or just exhaustion finally catching up. After the court-martial, I submitted my resignation. Not required, not forced, but effective as a commander, finished. The scandal had done what scandals do, made me toxic, untouchable. No commander wants the honor over family officer in their unit. Too complicated, too much baggage. General Holland accepted the resignation, hardship retirement, 26 years of service, full pension, honorable discharge, more than I expected, less than I'd built. The Silver Eagles went back in their felt-lined box, permanently. Emily's promotion board met in September, 12 weeks after the ceremony that destroyed everything. I wasn't there, wasn't appropriate, just waited for the call. It came at 1400 hours, 2 p.m., Sarah Mitchell's number. "She didn't make it," Sarah said, voice tight, angry. "The board passed her over. Family reputation. They said it wasn't fair, but I understand." "Sir, this is bullshit. Emily did everything right. I know." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "She's in her quarters. Won't talk to anyone. I thought you should know." I drove to Emily's apartment. Knocked, no answer. Knocked again. It's Dad. Let me in." The door opened. Emily stood there in PT uniform, eyes red, face blotchy. She'd been crying, my daughter, my captain, passed over because of my choice. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't." She turned, walked back inside. I followed. "Don't apologize for doing the right thing. That makes it worse." I knew this would happen. I told you it would happen. And you filed the report anyway, because that's who you are. That's what you taught me." She sat on the couch, picked up something from the coffee table, her engagement ring, white gold, solitaire. "Andrew called, after the verdict, said maybe we could try again. Now that the scandal's resolved, now that everyone knows you chose honor." "What did you say?" I said no. "Because he chose his career over me. He chose image over love, and you taught me better than that." She held the ring up to the light, diamond catching afternoon sun through the window. "This was supposed to be my future, but I don't want a future built on convenience, on image, on doing what's easy instead of what's right." She set the ring down, looked at me, really looked at me. "You know what the worst part is?" she said. "I'm not mad at you. I should be. You cost me my promotion, maybe my career, but I'm not mad. I'm proud. Because you showed me what integrity looks like when it costs everything, and that's worth more than any promotion." My phone buzzed, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then saw it was a Fort Liberty exchange. "Colonel Carson?" Woman's voice, familiar. "Speaking. This is General Holland. Can you come to my office? There's someone here who wants to meet Captain Carson." "Ma'am, I'm retired now. I don't think—" "Colonel, retired colonel. This is important. Bring Emily." We drove to headquarters, neither of us speaking, just driving. 2 Carsons heading toward an unknown meeting, story of our military lives. General Holland's office had 3 people in it, the general, a full colonel I didn't recognize, and a civilian. Well-dressed woman, maybe 50, with an ID badge I couldn't read. "Colonel Carson," Holland said. "Captain Carson, thank you for coming. This is Colonel Patricia Wade, Pentagon personnel, and Ms. Jennifer Martinez from Defense Department Civilian Oversight. "Ma'am," I said. Emily echoed it. "Captain Carson," Colonel Wade said, "your promotion board met yesterday. You were passed over. The official reason was family reputation concerns, standard procedure in high-profile cases." Emily's face went carefully blank. Military mask, hiding pain. "However," Wade continued, "General Holland submitted a formal objection, cited your performance record, your integrity, your service. She argued that yes, passing you over punishes you for your father's choice to uphold military honor, which is, to be blunt, backwards." "I don't understand," Emily said. The objection went up the chain, all the way to the Secretary of Defense, who reviewed the case personally. Wade pulled out a folder. "Captain Emily Rose Carson, by order of the Secretary of Defense, you are hereby promoted to Major, United States Army, effective immediately. Special promotion ceremony to be held at 1700 hours today." Emily stared. "What?" "Your father chose honor over convenience," General Holland said. "Chose integrity over image, chose truth over career. That's exactly the kind of officer we want in command, and you're his daughter. You were raised by that standard. We'd be idiots to lose you because your father did the right thing." "But the board followed procedure. This is an exception, rare, reserved for extraordinary circumstances." Colonel Wade smiled slightly. "A colonel reporting his subordinate's affair, knowing it would destroy his career and harm his daughter, despite having an easy way out? That's extraordinary. Your father taught you integrity through action. The Army needs officers like that." The promotion ceremony was small, 20 people, General Holland presiding. Emily stood at attention. Colonel Wade read the orders: promotion to major, new rank insignia, gold oak leaves. And then General Holland did something unexpected. "Retired Colonel Carson," she said, "would you do the honors?" She handed me the oak leaves, heavy, gold-colored metal, symbol of field-grade officer rank, symbol of leadership, symbol of everything Emily had earned. I stepped forward. Emily's eyes met mine, tears there, pride there, understanding there. I pinned the first oak leaf on her right shoulder, felt the posts push through fabric, secure. "I'm proud of you," I whispered. "I learned from the best," she whispered back. I pinned the second oak leaf on her left shoulder, stepped back, saluted. She returned it. The room applauded. Small crowd, but genuine, real. After the ceremony, Emily and I walked outside. July evening, heat finally breaking, sun dropping toward the horizon. "Dad," she said, "I need to tell you something." "What?" She reached into her pocket, pulled out her engagement ring, white gold, solitaire. "I'm going to sell this. Use the money for something better, something real." Andrew chose image over love. Bradley chose revenge over honor. Mom chose resentment over trying. But you? She smiled, small, genuine. You chose integrity even when it cost everything. That's the example I'm keeping. She put the ring back in her pocket, looked at the oak leaves on her shoulders. New rank, new responsibility. "Leave no one behind," she said. "That was always your motto. But you left yourself behind, Dad. For 26 years, deployed, distant, using service as a shield." She paused. "Until you finally brought yourself home, filed that report, chose honor even when it meant losing everything." "I didn't lose everything," I said. "I still have you." "Yeah," she said. "You do." Colonel Carson and Captain Carson, now Major Carson, redefined what duty means, not following orders blindly, but doing right even when it costs everything. They found their way back to each other through honor, not in spite of it. If you've had to choose integrity over comfort, if you've rebuilt a relationship by telling hard truths instead of comfortable lies, tell me about it in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this one moved you, hit subscribe. I tell stories about honor, betrayal, and finding yourself when everything falls apart. I'll see you in the next one. 6 months later, January 2026, cold North Carolina. Winter. I stood in a rented storefront in Fayetteville. Off base, small space, folding chairs, 20 transitioning veterans sitting in rows, men and women leaving active duty, trying to figure out who they were without uniforms, without rank, without the structure that had defined them for years. I taught a workshop every Thursday evening. How to translate military experience into civilian terms, how to navigate job interviews, how to rebuild identity when service ends. Emily sat in the back row, dress uniform, Major's oak leaves on her shoulders. She'd taken leave to be here, support, family, real family. Not the image of family, not the performance, the real thing. The deployment footlocker sat in the corner, olive drab, metal, finally unpacked, permanently. No longer ready to leave at a moment's notice. Home now, really home. On the table in front of me sat the challenge coin from Poland, brass, heavy, 82nd Airborne insignia. Koel Carson, Poland deployment, 2024, engraved on the back. I picked it up, felt the weight, warm from being in my pocket all day. Before we start, I said to the group, I want to tell you something. For 26 years, I believed leave no one behind meant bringing soldiers home from deployment, meant accounting for every person in my unit, meant no one gets abandoned on the battlefield. I set the challenge coin on the table. It made a solid clink, metal on wood, final. But I left someone behind. Every deployment, every TDY, every late night at the office. I left myself behind. Use service as an excuse to avoid being present. Avoid being vulnerable. Avoid the hard work of being human instead of just being a soldier. The veterans watched, some nodding, understanding, recognition in their eyes. It took losing everything, my marriage, my career, almost my daughter, to learn what that motto really meant. Leave no one behind, including yourself, especially yourself. Emily stood, walked to the front of the room, placed something on the table beside the challenge coin, the felt-lined box. She opened it. The silver eagles sat inside, mirror-polished, heavy, symbol of rank I'd worn for 3 months before everything fell apart. My father taught me that honor matters more than image, Emily said to the group. That integrity matters more than advancement. That doing right matters more than doing well. She looked at me. And he taught me by showing me, by filing that report even though it cost him everything, by choosing truth over convenience, by bringing himself home even when home meant loss. She picked up one of the silver eagles, held it up to the light. These represent 26 years of service, 4 deployments, 8,200 soldiers commanded, a career built on honor. And when that honor was tested, when doing right meant losing everything, he chose honor, every time. She placed the eagle back in the box, closed it. The snap was soft, final. You're all transitioning, Emily said to the veterans, leaving active duty, leaving the structure, leaving the identity you've built, and you're wondering who you are without the uniform, without the rank, without the mission. She gestured to me. This man taught me the answer. You're whoever you choose to be, whatever you choose to honor, whatever you choose to protect. The uniform doesn't make you honorable. Your choices do. Command Sergeant Major Clark walked in. Civilian clothes, retired now too. 31 years of service. He'd taken a job teaching at the NCO Academy, training the next generation of enlisted leaders. He carried coffee, 3 cups, handed one to me, one to Emily, kept one. Sir, he said, you told me once that the hardest thing about command is making decisions when there's no good option, when every choice costs something, when right and easy point different directions. I remember. You also told me that's when character shows. Not when it's easy, when it's hard. He raised his coffee cup. You showed character, sir. Cost you everything. But you showed it. Emily raised her cup. To bringing everyone home, including ourselves. I raise mine. Leave no one behind. Not even yourself. We drank. Coffee was terrible, cheap, but it was warm, real, shared with people who mattered. The challenge coin sat on the table between us. Brass, heavy, symbol of brotherhood, symbol of honor, symbol of finally being home. Outside, winter wind rattled the windows. Inside, 20 veterans learning how to rebuild, how to find honor in civilian life, how to bring themselves home after years of leaving themselves behind. Emily caught my eye, smiled, small, genuine. My daughter, my major, my family, real family. Not the performance, the truth. I thought about Michelle. She'd moved to California, started a new life, new blog, fewer followers now. The scandal had cost her sponsorships, friends, the the community she'd built. Last I heard, she was dating someone, civilian, not military. Maybe that was better for her. Maybe she'd find what she was looking for. I thought about Bradley, dishonorable discharge, lost pension, 20 years erased, working retail now, according to reports. His marriage to Melissa ended. His daughter, born in December, was being raised by a woman who chose honor over convenience, who chose truth over image. That daughter would grow up knowing what integrity looked like, even if she never met her father. And I thought about the choice, the impossible choice, report or resign, honor or family, truth or convenience. Turned out it wasn't impossible after all, just hard. Leave no one behind, not even yourself. I'm finally home.